Grand strategist Zorn Valaxis stared at the holographic battle simulations with what passed for amusement among the Tressarian High Command. The blue marble called Earth rotated slowly before him, surrounded by probability vectors and tactical assessments. "You can't possibly be serious," Zorn said, his secondary breathing tubes fluttering in what his species considered laughter. "These humans have no unified planetary government. Their military forces operate under hundreds of different command structures. Their tactics are inconsistent. Their technology is wildly uneven. And you are telling me the Expansion Council considers them a threat?" Fleet Commander Parksos clicked her mandibles in irritation. "The assessment comes directly from the Grand Overseer. We ignore it at our peril. Look at their world." Zorn gestured with 3 of his limbs simultaneously. "They fight among themselves constantly. They have thousands of languages, cultures, and belief systems. Their global communication network is filled with contradictions, misinformation, and what they call memes. How can such a chaotic species possibly pose a danger to the most organized military force in the known galaxy?" Parksos moved closer to the hologram. "That's exactly why we are here, strategist. The Overseer wants a comprehensive assessment, not assumptions based on our standards of civilization." Zorn flicked his sensory appendages dismissively. "Fine, run the simulations. But I promise you, a species that can't even agree on standard units of measurement won't last a galactic week against our coordinated forces." "The simulations have already been run," Parksos said quietly. "That's why I'm here." For the first time, Zorn noticed the slight discoloration around Parksos's neck frill, a sign of extreme stress. "Show me," he demanded. The hologram shifted, displaying thousands of battle scenarios. Zorn's confidence evaporated like morning dew on Tressaria Prime. "That's impossible," he whispered. "I assure you it's not," Parksos replied. "In 72% of simulations, human forces achieve strategic victory within one standard solar rotation. In another 18%, they force a stalemate that drains our resources to unsustainable levels." "How? Their technology is centuries behind ours." "It's not about technology. It's about chaos," Parksos said. "We have always seen chaos as weakness. But these simulations suggest something else entirely." Zorn felt his skin pulsate with disbelief. "What would you have me do?" "The Overseer has authorized a deep reconnaissance mission. You will lead it personally." "Me? I'm a strategist, not a field operative." "That's precisely why you are perfect for this assignment," Parksos said. "You need to see firsthand what makes humans so dangerous. Because if these simulations are correct, we may need to reconsider our entire approach to galactic expansion." Zorn looked back at the rotating Earth. Such a small planet. So blue. So chaotic. So dangerous. "When do I leave?" he asked. Immediately, Parksos replied, "Your team has already been assembled." The reconnaissance vessel Precise Calculation dropped out of hyperspace just beyond the orbit of Earth's moon. Cloaking technology immediately engaged, rendering the ship invisible to human detection systems. Zorn Valaxis examined his team with skepticism. Data analyst Mira Quant, an emaciated Velocian whose species prided themselves on perfect information processing. Security specialist Krav Durak, a hulking Barathi warrior with reinforced exoskeletal plating. And most peculiarly, cultural interpreter Lumi Nexos, a shape-shifting Morphean who could blend in among humans. "Our mission parameters are clear," Zorn announced. "We observe, gather intelligence, and analyze human military capabilities without intervention. Under no circumstances do we engage with the natives or reveal our presence." Mira Quant's multifaceted eyes blinked in rapid sequence. "I have already begun collecting data from their information networks. It's chaotic, contradictory, inefficient." "That's what I expected," Zorn replied. "Focus on military communications and strategic planning documents." "That's just it," Grand Strategist Mira said. Their military communications are deliberately obscured, even from their own population. And what I can access shows bizarre inconsistencies in doctrine, equipment, and deployment. Krav Durak rumbled from his corner of the command center. Their weapons systems are primitive, chemically propelled projectiles. Crude nuclear devices, rudimentary energy weapons. Nothing that should concern us. And yet, Zorn mused, the simulations show them defeating our forces consistently. But we are missing something fundamental. Lumi Nexos shifted her form slightly, practicing the human appearance she would soon adopt. Perhaps we need to understand them beyond their military capabilities, their culture, psychology, social structures. We are not here for an anthropological study, Zorn snapped. We need to understand how they fight. With respect, Grand Strategist, Lumi continued, how they fight may be inseparable from how they think and live. Zorn waved a dismissive limb. Fine. You and Mira focus on cultural analysis. Krav and I will assess military capabilities. We will reconvene in 24 Earth hours to share findings. As the team dispersed, Zorn remained at the view screen, watching the blue planet rotate slowly below. Something about these humans unsettled him deeply. Their unpredictability. Their chaos. It offended his Tricerian sense of order and precision. Computer, he said. Display current human conflicts. The screen lit up with dozens of hotspots across the planet. Regional wars, insurgencies, civil unrest, terrorist activities, criminal organizations. The humans were fighting themselves on multiple fronts simultaneously. How can a species so divided stand against a unified galactic power? He muttered. The computer, not recognizing the rhetorical nature of his question, responded, insufficient data for meaningful analysis. Zorn barked a laugh. At least you are honest about it. 48 Earth hours later, Zorn called his team together. Their expressions ranged from confused to concerned. Report, he commanded. Mira Quant projected a holographic display of Earth's internet traffic. Their global information network defies rational analysis. It contains equal parts crucial data, deliberate misinformation, entertainment, social communication, commercial transactions, and what they call cat videos. They make no serious attempt to organize it coherently. And their military communications, Zorn pressed, deliberately fragmented. Different encryption standards, different protocols, different command structures. It's as if they are designed to be incompatible with each other. Krav Durak stepped forward. Their weapons systems are equally inconsistent. Some nations possess advanced technologies approaching our lower-tier capabilities. Others rely on equipment that would be considered obsolete even by their own standards. Yet they all continue fighting effectively. Zorn turned to Lumi. And what have you learned about their psychology? The shapeshifter had adopted a perfect human form, indistinguishable from the real thing. They are contradictory in ways that defy rational explanation. They create elaborate rules, then celebrate those who break them. They form hierarchical organizations, and then resist authority. They value both conformity and individuality simultaneously. They are capable of both tremendous cruelty and astonishing kindness, often within moments of each other. This isn't helpful, Zorn complained. I need concrete insights into their military capabilities. That's just it, Lumi said. Their military thinking is inseparable from this contradictory nature. They have a concept called thinking outside the box. It means deliberately violating established protocols to gain advantage. Zorn's breathing tubes constricted in surprise. They train their warriors to disobey orders? Not exactly, Lumi explained. They train them to understand the intent behind orders, then adapt when circumstances change. They call it mission command or commander's intent. Krav made a sound of derision. That's tactically unsound. It introduces too many variables. And yet, Mira interjected, I have analyzed their military history. This approach has proven remarkably effective. especially against more rigid command structures. Zorn paced the command center, his agitation visible in the rippling patterns across his skin. I need something concrete. Something I can report to the Expansion Council. There is something else, Lumi said hesitantly. Something called asymmetric warfare. It's when a militarily weaker force exploits the vulnerabilities of a stronger one by using unconventional tactics. Give me an example, Zorn demanded. Lumi projected historical footage of human conflicts. Here, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq. In each case, a technologically superior force was effectively countered by forces using guerrilla tactics, improvised weapons, and intimate knowledge of terrain. Zorn watched the footage with growing unease. These are internal conflicts, human versus human. It doesn't prove they could effectively resist our invasion. Actually, Mira said, I have discovered something disturbing in their entertainment media. The display shifted to show human films, books, and games depicting alien invasions. In virtually every scenario, humans ultimately prevailed against technologically superior extraterrestrial forces. They have been psychologically preparing for extraterrestrial conflict for over a century, Mira explained. They have explored countless invasion scenarios and developed theoretical countermeasures. Fiction isn't reality, Zorn said dismissively. No, but it shapes thinking, Lumi countered. These aren't just entertainment. They are thought experiments. Psychological preparation. Krav Durak growled. We should simply eliminate them from orbit. Their planetary defenses couldn't stop a full bombardment. That's not our mission, Zorn reminded him. And the Expansion Council prefers assimilation to extermination. Habitable worlds are valuable. Besides, orbital bombardment would require a full battle fleet. We need to determine if such a commitment of resources is justified. I recommend we gather more direct intelligence, Lumi suggested. I can assume human form and infiltrate one of their military installations. Absolutely not, Zorn said. The risk of discovery is too great. With respect, Grand Strategist, Lumi persisted, remote observation isn't giving us the insights we need. We need to understand how humans think in combat situations, how they adapt, how they improvise. Zorn considered this. The mission was already taking longer than planned, with insufficient results. The Expansion Council would expect concrete recommendations. Very well, he decided. But we proceed with extreme caution. Lumi will infiltrate a mid-level military facility. Nothing too sensitive. Observe only. No interaction. There's a naval base on their western continent that would be suitable, Mira suggested. Large enough to provide useful data, but not a critical command center. And make the preparations, Zorn ordered. But remember, we are here to observe only. If there's any risk of discovery, aboard immediately. As his team departed to prepare for the infiltration, Zorn returned to the view screen. Something about these humans continued to disturb him. Their chaotic nature seemed like weakness, yet the simulations suggested otherwise. Was chaos itself a form of strength they hadn't recognized? Naval Station Riverpoint buzzed with activity as personnel prepared for the upcoming multinational training exercise. Commander Jack Mason strode across the base, coffee in hand, nodding to sailors as he passed. Sir. Lieutenant D.V. Patel jogged to catch up with him. The delegation from Singapore has arrived. They are requesting a tour of the facilities. Mason sighed. I thought they weren't due until tomorrow. Change of plans. Apparently, Patel shrugged. Their attach said something about demonstrating flexibility. Isn't that convenient, Mason grumbled. All right, get them processed through security. I will meet them at the conference center in 30 minutes. As Mason turned to head to his office, he noticed a woman he didn't recognize walking purposefully across the quad. There was something odd about her gait, as if she was slightly uncomfortable with her own body. Probably a new contractor, he thought. Little did he know, he was observing Lumi Nexos on her first excursion in human form. Lumi had studied human movement extensively, but experiencing it firsthand was disorienting. The limited sensory input, the restricted range of motion, the bizarre balance required for bipedal locomotion. How did humans function with such limitations? Her mission was clear: observe, record, and report. No interaction, no interference. She wore the uniform of a civilian contractor with appropriate security credentials, all fabricated based on Mira's infiltration of the base's personnel systems. As she walked through the facility, her enhanced senses recorded everything: communications protocols, security measures, personnel interactions, weapon systems. But most importantly, the seemingly chaotic way humans operated. Officers gave orders that subordinates questioned. Plans changed on the fly. Improvisation seemed to be valued over rigid adherence to protocol. It was everything the Tricerian military was not, and it fascinated her. Approaching a large hangar, Lumi observed a group of engineers arguing over a malfunctioning radar system. The manufacturer's specs say it can't be modified that way, one insisted. The manufacturer doesn't know what they are talking about, another replied, already rewiring a circuit board. I did this same hack on deployment last year when we lost primary systems. Worked fine then. That's completely unauthorized, a third pointed out. You want to wait 3 weeks for a replacement part, or you want this radar working for the exercise tomorrow? The second engineer challenged. The argument ended with reluctant agreement to proceed with the unauthorized modification. Lumi noted this with particular interest. In Tricerian military, such deviation would result in severe punishment. Here it seemed almost expected. Her observations were interrupted by a security alert. Base personnel began moving with sudden purpose, and Lumi slipped into a nearby office to avoid attention. We have got an unidentified vessel approaching restricted waters, a voice announced over the intercom. All security teams to designated positions. Lumi's hearts raced. Had they detected the precise calculation? Had Zorn moved the ship without informing her? She activated her subdermal communicator. Zorn, status report? Our position is secure, came the immediate reply. What's happening? Security alert. Unidentified vessel. Not us. Maintain your cover. Observe their response. Lumi moved to a window where she could watch the base's reaction. It was remarkable. Without apparent central coordination, security teams deployed to predetermined positions. Some personnel evacuated, others secured sensitive areas, while others prepared defensive systems. Through her enhanced vision, she could see a small boat approaching the restricted zone. Probably just a civilian vessel that had strayed off course, but the base's response was impressive in its efficiency. Within minutes, patrol boats intercepted the intruder. Brief communication ensued, and the civilian craft turned away. The alert status remained for another 15 minutes before standing down. What impressed Lumi most was the lack of confusion. Despite minimal centralized direction, everyone seemed to know their role and executed it without hesitation. It was chaos, but organized chaos. Purposeful disorder. She continued her reconnaissance throughout the day, gathering data on how humans operated, communicated, and made decisions. By the time she prepared to return to the ship, her understanding of human military capability had shifted dramatically. They are not just chaotic, Lumi reported to Zorn and the others aboard the precise calculation. They are adaptively chaotic. They use disorder as a tool. Zorn's skin rippled with concern. Explain. In our military, we value perfect order. Every individual knows exactly what to do in every situation, following precise protocols. Humans take a different approach. They establish general parameters, then allow individuals to adapt within those parameters. That's inefficient, Krav objected. Is it? Lumi challenged. I observed them resolving a security incident today. From alert to resolution took approximately 12 Earth minutes. How long would a similar incident take in a Tricerian facility? Mira answered before Krav could. Standard response time would be minimum 28 units, equivalent to 42 Earth minutes. Exactly, Lumi said. because every Trisarian response requires verification up the chain of command, assessment, authorization, and precise execution according to established protocols. That ensures proper procedures are followed, Zorn said defensively. It also introduces delays and rigidity, Lumi countered. Humans operate differently. They train individuals to understand objectives rather than just follow procedures. When situations change, they adapt immediately without waiting for authorization. Krav made a dismissive gesture. This works for minor security incidents, perhaps? But in full-scale warfare, such disorder would be disastrous. Would it? Mira interjected. I have been analyzing their military history more thoroughly. This adaptability has proven remarkably effective, especially against forces with more rigid command structures. She displayed historical battle data. Look at how smaller, more flexible human forces have repeatedly defeated larger, better-equipped opponents through history. There's something else, Lumi added. Something called creative problem-solving. They actively encourage thinking in unconventional ways. I observed engineers modifying equipment contrary to manufacturer specifications because the standard approach would have delayed operations. Zorn considered this information with growing concern. If what you are saying is accurate, our traditional military doctrine may be ineffective against humans. That's consistent with the simulation results, Mira confirmed. Our predictable tactics would be quickly identified and countered by human forces. Krav stood suddenly, his massive frame dominating the command center. This is absurd. You suggest that primitive humans could defeat the most advanced military force in the galaxy because they are disorganized? Not disorganized, Lumi corrected. Differently organized. They create systems that harness chaos rather than eliminate it. I need more evidence before reporting to the Expansion Council, Zorn decided. Lumi, you will return to the base tomorrow. Focus on their command structure and decision-making processes. With respect, Grand Strategist, Lumi said, I recommend we expand our observation to multiple facilities. Different branches of their military may operate differently. Too risky, Zorn replied. One infiltration is dangerous enough. The ship's alarm suddenly blared, startling all of them. Proximity alert, the computer announced. Human vessel approaching detection range. Impossible, Zorn said. Our cloaking technology is impenetrable to human sensors. Mira rushed to the sensor station. It's not a military vessel. Civilian. Scientific research according to their transponder. Designation Oceanic Explorer. Are they tracking us? Zorn demanded. Negative. They appear to be conducting standard oceanographic research. But their course will bring them within 2 kilometers of our position. Could their instruments detect us at that range? Mira hesitated. Unlikely, but not impossible. Their scientific instruments might register anomalous readings. Relocate the ship, Zorn ordered. Maximum stealth protocols. That will temporarily disrupt Lumi's infiltration, Krav pointed out. Better than risking discovery, Zorn replied. Lumi, you will need to maintain your cover without communication until we re-establish position. Lumi nodded. Understood. But this demonstrates another aspect of human unpredictability. Their civilian scientific vessel is now inadvertently interfering with a military reconnaissance mission. A coincidence, Krav dismissed. Perhaps, Lumi said. But humans seem to thrive on such coincidences. They create conditions where unlikely events become inevitable through sheer volume of activity. As the precise calculations silently relocated to avoid detection, Zorn felt his certainty continuing to erode. Everything about humans defied Trisarian military doctrine. Their chaotic nature, once dismissed as weakness, was beginning to look like a formidable strategic advantage. The next day, Lumi continued her infiltration of Naval Station Riverpoint. Without communication with the ship, she felt isolated in her human form, but her mission remained clear: understand human military thinking. Today's opportunity came in the form of a tactical planning session for the upcoming multinational exercise. As a credentialed contractor, Lumi had managed to secure access to observe. Commander Mason stood before a group of officers from various nations, outlining the exercise parameters. The scenario is straightforward. Coalition forces must secure and hold these three strategic positions against an opposing force with superior numbers. The Japanese officer raised a hand. The terrain favors defensive operations. Without air superiority, a frontal assault would result in unacceptable casualties. Exactly, Mason agreed. So we need alternative approaches. What followed fascinated Lumi. Rather than Mason dictating a solution, the assembled officers engaged in what humans called brainstorming. Ideas flowed freely, some practical, others outlandish. No suggestion was immediately dismissed, no matter how unorthodox. What about a diversionary operation here, suggested a Korean lieutenant, pointing to the map, while the main force approaches through this valley. Too obvious, countered an Australian captain. They will expect that. What if we don't approach at all? Suggested a young American ensign. The room fell silent, and Lumi leaned forward with interest. Explain, Mason prompted. We make them think we are approaching from multiple directions, the ensign continued. Drones, electronic signatures, even old-school techniques like dragging branches to create dust clouds, make them spread their forces thin, defending against ghosts. While the real assault comes from where? Mason asked. Here? The ensign grinned. Nowhere. We wait until they have redistributed their forces, then hit their weakest point with everything we have got. What struck Lumi wasn't just the creativity of the approach, but how it was received. Rather than dismissing this junior officer's unorthodox suggestion, the senior commanders built upon it, refined it, incorporated elements into a comprehensive plan. In Tracerian military planning, solutions came from the top down. Strategies were developed by the most experienced commanders based on established doctrine, then executed precisely by subordinates. It was human approach. Building strategies collaboratively across rank and experience levels was alien to her and remarkably effective. As the session progressed, Lumi noted another curious phenomenon. The officers deliberately introduced random elements into their plan, what they called calculated chaos. These weren't failures of planning, but intentional unpredictability designed to confuse opponents. Remember, Mason concluded, the exercise begins at 0600 tomorrow, but be prepared for unexpected developments. The opposing force has been given latitude to change parameters without warning. They are training for adaptation, Lumi realized. Not just accepting that plans fail when encountering the enemy, but expecting it, planning for it, even inducing it deliberately to develop flexibility. Her observations were interrupted by a tap on her shoulder. Lumi turned to find a security officer regarding her with suspicion. Excuse me, ma'am. May I see your credentials? Lumi's heart raced as she produced the fabricated ID card. Had her cover been compromised? Was there something wrong with her human appearance? The officer examined her ID, then compared it to something on his tablet. You are MS Anna Reyes from Datic Solutions? Yes, Lumi confirmed, maintaining the cover identity Mira had created. Strange, the officer said. According to our records, Anna Reyes checked in at our San Diego facility this morning. Lumi's mind raced. A security cross-check had revealed the contradiction. The real contractor must be at another facility. There must be some mistake, she said, trying to sound confused rather than alarmed. Let's clear this up, the officer said firmly. Please come with me. As Lumi was escorted from the room, she noticed Commander Mason watching with interest. There was something in his expression, not just suspicion, but curiosity, as if inconsistencies weren't just security concerns, but puzzles to be solved. This, she realized, was the human approach to chaos in microcosm. Not fear, but engagement. Not avoidance, but curiosity. And it terrified her. Aboard the precise calculation, Zorn paced anxiously. Still no communication from Lumi? Nothing since we re-established position, Mira confirmed. Her subdermal communicator is either malfunctioning or she's been discovered, Krav finished bluntly. Impossible, Zorn insisted. Her cover was perfect. The credentials were flawless. Except for one detail, Mira said quietly. The contractor identity we borrowed appears to work at multiple facilities. There's a non-zero probability that security systems detected the contradiction. Zorn's skin darkened with alarm. You are telling me now? The probability was minimal, Mira defended. Less than 2.7%. These within acceptable parameters for a covert operation. Acceptable parameters, Zorn repeated bitterly. While Lumi is potentially in human custody. We should extract her immediately, Krav suggested. It's a tactical insertion. Absolutely not, Zorn cut him off. That would reveal our presence and confirm extraterrestrial observation. The mission would be compromised. So we abandon Lumi? Krav challenged. We wait, Zorn decided. Morphians are resourceful. If anyone can maintain cover under scrutiny, it's Lumi. But as the hours passed with no communication, Zorn's concern grew. If humans had indeed captured a shape-shifting alien, the strategic implications were enormous. The Expansion Council would need to be informed. The invasion timetable might need acceleration. New development, Mira announced suddenly. Increased communications from the naval base. Security protocols activated. They have discovered her, Zorn concluded grimly. Unclear, Mira replied. But something has heightened their alert status. Prepare for emergency departure, Zorn ordered. If Lumi hasn't made contact within one planetary rotation, we return to Tricerian space and report. And Lumi? Krav asked. Zorn's breathing tubes constricted. The mission takes priority. We cannot risk the Expansion Council's strategic objectives for one operative. Even as he said it, Zorn recognized the Tricerian logic at work. Sacrifice the individual for the collective. Follow protocol regardless of circumstances. It was their way. And for the first time, he wondered if it was a weakness rather than a strength. In a secure room beneath Naval Station River Point, Lumi sat perfectly still as Commander Mason and two security officers reviewed her credentials. The ID is flawless, one officer reported. Biometrics match the file. But she can't be in two places at once. Mason studied Lumi with open curiosity. Unless she has a twin we don't know about, or a doppelganger. His tone was light, but his eyes were sharp. I assure you there's been a mistake, Lumi said, projecting calm confidence. Perhaps a database error. Perhaps, Mason agreed. Except we checked with Datix Solutions. They confirmed Ana Reyes is currently at their San Diego office. Has been all week. Lumi maintained her composure while inwardly calculating escape scenarios. The room had one door, two ventilation ducts too small for even her human form, and three armed officers. Extraction by the precise calculation was unlikely given Zorn's risk aversion. I don't understand, she said, feigning confusion. My credentials were issued properly. I have been on base for 2 days without incident. That's what concerns me, Mason said. Our security should have flagged this immediately. Instead, you have had access to restricted areas for 48 hours. What were you looking for, MS not Reyes? I'm a systems analyst, Lumi maintained. I was authorized to observe operational protocols for the multinational exercise. By whom? Mason pressed. Lumi hesitated just long enough for Mason to note it. Lieutenant Commander Harrison. Interesting, Mason replied, considering Harrison transferred to Pearl Harbor 3 months ago. But the game was up. Lumi knew it. Mason knew it. Yet something unexpected happened. Rather than immediately arresting her or calling for reinforcements, Mason dismissed the security officers. Give us the room, he said. Sir? One officer questioned. Security protocols for suspected espionage. But I'm aware of the protocols, Lieutenant. Give us the room. When they were alone, Mason sat across from Lumi, his posture relaxed but alert. Here's what I think. You are not Ana Reyes. You are not even a contractor. My guess is foreign intelligence. Chinese? Russian? Maybe North Korean? Lumi remained silent. Here's the thing, Mason continued conversationally. If you were just gathering intelligence on our exercise, we'd have caught you immediately. Our security isn't that sloppy. But you were doing something different. Something unusual enough that it didn't trigger our standard countermeasures. His perception was remarkable, Lumi thought. Humans were supposed to be inferior, yet this one had identified the anomaly in her behavior that security protocols had missed. You weren't looking for tactical information, Mason continued. You were studying how we operate, how we think, why. The directness of the questions startled her. In Tressarian interrogation, questions were oblique, designed to trap subjects in contradictions. This human simply asked what he wanted to know. Would you believe I'm a behavioral scientist studying military decision-making? Lumi tried. Mason actually smiled. Better cover story than contractor. Should have gone with that from the start. A strange feeling came over Lumi. This human was intelligent, perceptive, and most surprisingly seemed to appreciate the game they were playing. There was no anger in his demeanor, only professional curiosity. What happens now? She asked. That depends on you, Mason replied. Standard procedure would be to hand you over to counterintelligence for formal interrogation. But something tells me that wouldn't be productive. He leaned forward slightly. Here's an alternative. You tell me who you are working for and what you are really after, and maybe, just maybe, we can resolve this more creatively. It was a negotiation, Lumi realized. An invitation to collaborate rather than conflict. Another example of human adaptability. Before she could respond, the building shook with a tremendous explosion. Alarms blared immediately. What the hell? Mason exclaimed, jumping to his feet. The door burst open as a security officer rushed in. Sir, we are under attack. Multiple explosions at the perimeter. Evacuate all non-essential personnel, Mason ordered instantly. Security Protocol Delta. I want a status report in 3 minutes. As the officer rushed out, Mason turned back to Lumi, his expression hardened. Is this your people? No, Lumi answered truthfully, equally confused. This isn't part of my mission. For a moment, Mason studied her intently, then made a decision. Prove it. Help us and maybe we can still have that conversation. It was a test, Lumi realized, and a fascinating one. In a crisis, this human was offering trust conditionally, an approach no Tressarian commander would ever consider. Before she could respond, another explosion rocked the building, closer this time. The lights flickered and died, plunging them into darkness broken only by red emergency lighting. Decision time, Mason said grimly. Who are you really, and are you with us or against us? As Lumi opened her mouth to answer, the ceiling collapsed above them. Debris crashed down between Lumi and Mason. Instinctively, Lumi shifted her density, allowing concrete fragments to pass through her partially phase-shifted form. It was a reflex action and a critical error. No human could have survived such an impact unharmed. Mason stared at her through the dust and emergency lighting, his expression a mixture of shock and dawning comprehension. What the hell are you? Before Lumi could respond, another explosion shook the building. Mason's training took over. Whatever she was, the immediate threat took priority. We need to evacuate, he shouted over the alarms. Whatever's happening up there is getting worse. Lumi made a split-second decision. Mission protocols dictated non-interference. Zorn would expect her to use this chaos to escape. But something in Mason's direct question, are you with us or against us, demanded a response that transcended protocols. I will help, she said. But you won't believe what I'm about to tell you. Mason coughed through the dust. After what I just saw, try me. I'm not human, Lumi said simply. I'm part of an alien reconnaissance mission assessing Earth's military capabilities. To her surprise, Mason didn't laugh or dismiss her claim. He simply assessed her with new eyes, but that would explain a few things. Like how you just let concrete pass through your body. Another explosion, closer this time. The building groaned ominously. Explanations later, Mason decided, "Right now, we need to get topside and find out what's happening." They navigated through the damaged building, climbing past collapsed sections and helping injured personnel along the way. Lumi found herself instinctively assisting humans, behavior that would horrify Zorn but felt oddly natural. As they emerged onto the base grounds, the scene was one of controlled chaos. Security teams moved with purpose despite the destruction. Medical personnel tended to the injured. Communication systems, though damaged, were being rapidly replaced with backups. Mason grabbed a passing lieutenant. Situation report. Multiple explosive devices detonated around the perimeter, the officer reported. Precision strikes against communications, power, and security systems. A professional job. We have teams sweeping for additional devices. Casualties? 12 injured, no fatalities. Most personnel were in the central facilities when the perimeter was hit. Any identification on the attackers? Negative, sir. But we found this. He handed Mason a small metallic object. Mason examined it briefly, then passed it to Lumi. Recognize this technology? Lumi studied the device. Not ours. Nothing like Tressarian technology. Tressarian? That's your species? No. The commanders of our coalition. My species is Morphean. Mason processed this with remarkable composure. So, if these aren't your people, who are they? Lumi's internal alarm systems activated. The device was emitting a subtle energy signature her human form had initially missed. This isn't just a detonator. It's transmitting. A beacon? Mason asked sharply. Yes, but not to any technology I recognize. Mason's expression darkened. We need to get this to our technical team immediately. He turned to the lieutenant. Full evacuation now. 5-kilometer perimeter. Move. As the evacuation order spread, Mason pulled Lumi aside. If you are really an alien scout, then you need to understand something. This isn't just an attack on my base. If someone's using unknown technology to target a military installation, this could be first contact going very wrong. Or a third party, Lumi suggested. Mason's eyes widened. You are saying there could be multiple alien species interested in Earth? The galaxy is vast, Commander. My people aren't the only ones exploring it. A sudden realization hit Mason. Your ship, is it nearby? Could your people help us identify this technology? Lumi hesitated. Involving the precise calculation would violate every protocol of their mission. But if another extraterrestrial force was attacking Earth, I need to contact my ship, she decided. Aboard the precise calculation, alarms blared as sensors detected the explosions at the naval base. What's happening down there? Zorn demanded. Mira's appendages flew over the sensor controls. Multiple detonations. Primitive but effective explosive devices targeting the base's infrastructure. Is this a human military exercise? Krav asked. Negative, Mira replied. The energy signatures are unusual. Unusual how? Zorn pressed. They contain trace elements not typically found in human explosive compounds. And there's something else. Mira paused, recalibrating the sensors. A transmission pattern embedded in the detonation sequence. A signal? To whom? Unknown. It doesn't match any communication protocol in our database. Zorn's skin pulsated with alarm. Could it be the Kilvari? The command center fell silent. The Kilvari aggressive expansionists from the galactic rim had competed with the Tressarian coalition for resources across multiple star systems. Probability assessment? Zorn asked quietly. Insufficient data, Mira replied. But the signature has similarities to Kilvari technology we have encountered in the Proxima sector. If the Kilvari are here, Krav rumbled, our reconnaissance mission just became significantly more complicated. And significantly more urgent, Zorn added. We need to confirm Lumi's status immediately. As if on cue, Lumi's communications signal activated. Grand strategist, her voice came through clearly. We have a situation. Report, Zorn ordered. The human facility is under attack from unknown forces, not human in origin. I have been compromised, explained, Zorn demanded. My cover was discovered, but circumstances have changed. The humans are aware of a potential extraterrestrial threat. I'm with their commander now. You revealed yourself? Krav sounded incredulous. The situation forced my hand, Lumi replied. But it may work to our advantage. The humans have recovered technology from the attack. It's transmitting on an unknown frequency. Zorn made a quick decision. Send us the frequency. Mira will analyze it. The human commander requests assistance in identifying the threat. Absolutely not, Zorn replied immediately. Our mission parameters have already been compromised, Lumi interrupted. Grand strategist, if the Kilvari are targeting Earth, the strategic situation has changed completely. Zorn knew she was right, though it pained him to admit it. Trissarian doctrine emphasized rigid adherence to mission parameters, but if the Kilvari were involved, the Expansion Council would need immediate information. Transmit the frequency, he ordered. We will analyze the technology, but maintain minimal contact with the humans. Understood, Lumi replied. But strategist, these humans, they are not what we thought. Their response to crisis is impressive. Save your anthropological observations, Zorn said sharply. Focus on the potential Kilvari threat. As the communication ended, Krav moved closer to Zorn. If the Kilvari are targeting Earth, our entire strategic assessment needs revision. One thing at a time, Zorn replied. First, we confirm the technology signature. Then we update the Expansion Council. They will determine our next actions. But privately, Zorn felt his certainty continuing to erode. The mission had veered wildly from its parameters. First, the disturbing simulations showing human military effectiveness. Then Lumi's observations about their adaptive chaos. Now a potential Kilvari incursion. Nothing was proceeding according to plan. How very human. Commander Mason watched as Lumi finished her communication. Around them, the evacuation continued with remarkable efficiency despite the damaged systems. Well? He prompted. My ship will analyze the transmission frequency, Lumi explained. If it matches known hostile species, we will have confirmation. Hostile species, Mason repeated. As in, not your people. The Trissarian coalition explores and assimilates, and we prefer peaceful integration of new worlds, but someone else might not be so diplomatic? The galaxy contains many civilizations, Commander. Not all share the Trissarian philosophy. Mason absorbed this with remarkable composure. So I have got two different alien species at my base. One spying on us, one blowing us up. Hell of a Tuesday. Despite the tension, Lumi found herself appreciating the human's ability to process extraordinary information without apparent psychological breakdown. Another adaptive trait. If you truly want to help, Mason continued, tell me what we are potentially facing. Capabilities, weaknesses, intentions. Without confirmation, I can only speculate, Lumi cautioned. But if it's the species I suspect the Kilvari, they are aggressive expansionists. They don't assimilate. They conquer or destroy. And their technology? Advanced. Comparable to Trissarian capabilities in most areas, superior in some. Mason nodded, processing this. And why would they target a mid-level naval base? Why not a major command center or political capital? It was a perceptive question. Reconnaissance, perhaps. Testing defenses. Assessing response patterns. Just like you were doing, Mason noted wryly. Not exactly, Lumi corrected. We observe? They probe for weaknesses through direct action. A young officer jogged up to them. Commander, satellite imagery just picked up an anomalous object approaching from the Pacific. Moving fast, sir. Really fast. Mason took the offered tablet, studied it briefly, then showed it to Lumi. One of yours? The image showed a sleek craft skimming just above the ocean surface approaching the coastline at tremendous speed. No, Lumi confirmed, feeling a chill. Definitely not Tricerian design. Mason immediately switched to command mode. Scramble alert fighters. Contact NORAD and Strategic Command. Full disclosure on potential extraterrestrial incursion. As the officer rushed to comply, Mason turned back to Lumi. I'm guessing that thing will be here in minutes. What kind of capabilities should we expect? If it's Kilvari, their assault craft carry energy weapons, short-range teleportation technology, and possibly biological agents. Biological, you mean weapons? No. Actual biological entities. The Kilvari use genetically engineered combat organisms alongside mechanical weapons. Mason stared at her for a moment, then laughed sharply. Aliens with space guns and attack monsters. Why not? He activated his communication device. This is Commander Mason. All personnel prepare for Level 1 hostile encounter with unknown capabilities. This is not a drill. Lumi watched with fascination as the humans around them absorbed this extraordinary order without panic. They moved faster, more focused, but the underlying discipline remained intact. Your people are handling this remarkably well, she observed. We train for the unexpected, Mason replied. Though I admit, alien invasion wasn't specifically on the curriculum. Yet you adapt. We don't have much choice, do we? Mason checked his sidearm, then gestured to the command center. Let's get somewhere with better communications. I need to coordinate with higher command. As they moved across the damaged base, Lumi activated her subdermal communicator again. Zorn, update. An unidentified craft is approaching the human facility. Likely Kilvari design. Zorn's response was immediate. We have detected it. Mira confirms Kilvari energy signatures. The signal from the explosive devices was a homing beacon. Intentions? Unknown. But Kilvari tactical doctrine suggests a reconnaissance in force. They are testing human defenses. The humans are organizing a response, Lumi reported. They have alerted their chain of command. Maintain observation only, Zorn ordered. Do not interfere. Lumi hesitated. The situation may not allow for non-interference. Those are your orders, Interpreter Nexos, Zorn said firmly. As the communication ended, Lumi found herself facing a moral dilemma entirely foreign to Tricerian military doctrine. Her orders were clear. But the humans, these remarkably adaptive, chaotic humans, were facing a threat they couldn't possibly understand, and she had information that could help them. For the first time in her service, Lumi contemplated deliberately violating orders. How very human of her. The Kilvari craft approached with astonishing speed, decelerating sharply as it neared the coastline. Military jets scrambled to intercept, but the alien vessel easily outmaneuvered them, dancing through the sky with impossible agility. In the hastily established command center, Mason coordinated the response while Lumi watched with growing concern. Your aircraft can't match its capabilities, she said quietly. I can see that, Mason replied grimly. But they can gather intelligence and buy time for evacuation. On the display screens, the Kilvari craft suddenly stopped, hovering above the ocean just beyond the naval base's perimeter. For long moments, nothing happened. What are they waiting for? Mason wondered. Assessment, Lumi explained. They are scanning your defenses, analyzing response patterns. Just like you were doing. With considerably less subtlety, Lumi pointed out. The communications officer called out urgently. Sir, we are picking up a transmission from the unidentified craft. It's on all frequencies, sir. Every band simultaneously. Put it through, Mason ordered. The speakers crackled with a harsh, guttural language unlike anything the humans had heard before. But to Lumi's surprise, she recognized it immediately. It's Kilvari, she confirmed. A standard challenge communication. What are they saying? Mason demanded. Lumi hesitated, then decided. Orders be damned. They are demanding to speak with Earth's military authority. They claim to be conducting a capability assessment of your species. Mason processed this quickly. Tell me how to respond. You want me to translate? Lumi asked, surprised. Unless you have got a better idea, yes. My linguists aren't exactly fluent in Space Monster. Lumi made her decision. The standard response would acknowledge their superior position while requesting clarification of intentions. Screw that, Mason said flatly. We don't acknowledge anyone's superior position. Tell them we recognize their presence and expect them to identify themselves and their purpose according to international protocols for entering sovereign territory. Lumi stared at him. That's not how first contact with the Kilvari typically proceeds. Yeah, well, welcome to Earth. We do things differently here. The sheer audacity of it struck Lumi as both foolhardy and somehow admirable. She stepped to the communication station and spoke in precise Kilvari language. The response was immediate. The alien craft emitted a blinding pulse of energy that temporarily disabled electronic systems across the base. As equipment reset, the craft descended to hover directly above the central parade ground. I think they are coming to discuss those international protocols in person, Mason observed dryly. A beam of light extended from the craft to the ground, and three figures materialized. Even from a distance, their alien nature was unmistakable. Tall, angular forms with iridescent exoskeletons and multiple limbs moved with predatory grace. Kilvari warriors, Lumi confirmed, her voice tight. Elite assessment unit. Mason studied them through binoculars. Those are not the take-me-to-your-leader type, are they? No, they are here to evaluate your combat capabilities. Being directly. Meaning? They will initiate a controlled conflict scenario. They want to see how you fight. Mason lowered the binoculars slowly. They came all this way to pick a fight? Seriously? The Kilvari believe combat is the only true measure of a species' worth. They are not here to conquer, not yet. They are here to determine if you are worth conquering. A grim smile spread across Mason's face. Then we should give them a proper demonstration, shouldn't we? Before Lumi could respond, Mason was issuing orders, not for frontal assault or desperate defense, but something more nuanced, more human, old defensive positions. No direct engagement unless attacked. I want non-lethal containment options ready. And get me a direct communication link to those visitors. Lumi stared at him. You are going to talk to them. Isn't that what first contact is supposed to be about? Communication? The Kilvari don't communicate with potential conquest targets. They test them. Then they are about to get a lesson in human diplomacy, Mason replied. With backup options, of course. He patted his sidearm meaningfully. As Mason moved toward the exit, Lumi stopped him. Commander, I should warn you. My superiors have ordered me not to interfere. Mason studied her with those perceptive human eyes. And what do you want to do? It was such a simple question, yet so profound. In Tricerian society, individual wants were subordinate to collective needs. Orders were absolute. Yet this human casually acknowledged her agency, her right to choose. I want to help, Lumi admitted. But my people. Let me guess. Big on rules, structure, and chain of command. The Tricerian coalition represents the pinnacle of organized civilization, Lumi said automatically, then hesitated. At least, that's our official position. And unofficially? After observing humans, I'm less certain. Mason nodded as if this confirmed something. That's your first step toward thinking like a human, questioning the official position. He started moving again. Come on, let's go meet your competition. Aboard the precise calculation, Zorn watched the unfolding situation with mounting alarm. Kilvari Assessment Unit, he said grimly. This complicates matters significantly. More than you realize, Mira added. I have analyzed their communications. This isn't just any assessment unit. It's the 7th Talon, commanded by war leader Kresh. They specialize in evaluating species with unusual defensive capabilities. So the Expansion Council wasn't alone in identifying humans as a potential threat, Krav noted. The question is, why now? Zorn mused. Why would the Kilvari suddenly take interest in Earth? Mira's appendages fluttered nervously. There's something else. Lumi's communications with the human commander were intercepted. The Kilvari know we are here. Zorn's skin darkened with alarm. This isn't just about humans anymore. It's about territorial precedence. The Kilvari are challenging our claim to this system, Krav concluded. Precisely. Zorn paced the command center. Standard protocol would be to withdraw and report to the Expansion Council. But Lumi is still down there, Mira pointed out, and abandoning the system could be interpreted as weakness by the Kilvari, Krav added. They might accelerate their timetable for Earth. Zorn faced a quintessentially UN Tresarian dilemma. Protocol dictated one course of action. Strategic reality suggested another. For the first time in his career, he found himself thinking not about what rules dictated, but what the situation demanded. To prepare for surface deployment, he decided. We are going down there. Krav's combat appendages flexed with anticipation. Rules of engagement? A defensive posture only. We are there to extract Lumi and assert our prior claim to this system, not to engage the Kilvari directly. And the humans? Mira asked. Zorn paused. The humans are not our concern. But even as he said it, he wondered if that was true anymore. On the parade ground, Commander Mason approached the 3 Kilvari warriors with remarkable composure. They towered over him, nearly 9 feet tall, their iridescent exoskeletons shifting colors in the sunlight. Multiple limbs carried what were obviously weapons, though unlike any Earth design. Lumi followed at a distance, torn between her orders and her growing respect for these chaotic humans. Welcome to Earth, Mason called out, stopping at a respectful distance. I'm Commander Jack Mason, representing the Armed Forces of the United States of America. The Central Kilvari, distinguished by elaborate markings on its exoskeleton, stepped forward. Its mandibles clicked rapidly as it spoke in its native language. War Leader Kresh acknowledges your greeting, Lumi translated from her position. He says your courage in approaching them directly will be noted in their assessment. Mason nodded. Please inform War Leader Kresh that Earth operates under established protocols for visitors. We request clarification of their intentions while in our territory. As Lumi translated, the Kilvari leader made a sound that might have been laughter. Its response was curt and dismissive. He says protocols are for equals. The Kilvari acknowledge no equals until proven in combat. Mason's expression remained neutral. Then perhaps we should discuss what constitutes proof in this context. We have no desire for unnecessary conflict. The translation provoked an immediate reaction. The Kilvari warriors conferred briefly, then War Leader Kresh addressed Mason again, gesturing expansively. He says your reluctance to engage confirms their initial assessment of human weakness, Lumi translated. They will proceed with standard evaluation protocol. Which means? Mason asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Combat testing, Lumi confirmed grimly. They will attack your forces to assess capabilities. Mason nodded slowly. Please inform War Leader Kresh that we will defend ourselves if necessary, but we continue to prefer peaceful resolution. As Lumi translated, something unexpected happened. A second alien craft appeared in the sky above them, its design dramatically different from the angular Kilvari vessel. The precise calculation, Lumi whispered in surprise. My ship. The Kilvari warriors immediately shifted to defensive positions, weapons trained on the new arrival. War Leader Kresh barked commands in rapid succession. What's he saying? Mason demanded. He's challenging the Tresarian presence, claiming the Kilvari have priority assessment rights to this system. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. 2 advanced alien species, potentially hostile to each other, facing off on Earth soil. Mason processed this with remarkable calm. So we have got a territorial dispute between space empires happening on my parade ground, he observed. Wonderful. A beam of light extended from the precise calculation, and three figures materialized: Zorn, Krav, and Mira. Unlike the intimidating Kilvari warriors, they appeared almost delicate, though no less alien with their multifaceted eyes and unusual limb configurations. War leader Kresh immediately addressed them in a harsh, challenging tone. He's demanding to know why the Tresarian coalition is interfering with a Kilvari assessment operation, Lumi translated quietly for Mason. Zorn responded with formal precision, his translator converting his words to Kilvari language. Grand Strategist Zorn is explaining that the Tresarian coalition has prior claim to this system, Lumi continued. They have been observing Earth for strategic evaluation. Mason raised an eyebrow. Fascinating. Two different alien civilizations fighting over who gets to decide if we are worth invading. His calm assessment startled Lumi. You are taking this remarkably well, Commander. What choice do I have? Panic won't help. He studied the aliens with professional interest. Besides, I'm learning a lot about galactic politics that might come in handy. The exchange between Zorn and war leader Kresh grew more heated. The Kilvari warrior's exoskeleton flushed deep crimson, a warning sign Lumi recognized immediately. But this is escalating dangerously, she warned Mason. The Kilvari are not known for diplomatic restraint. Neither are humans when threatened, Mason replied. He activated his communication device. All units stand by. Non-lethal containment options on my mark. War leader Kresh suddenly made a sweeping gesture with one of his weapon arms. The Kilvari communication was brief but unmistakable. He's declaring a challenge of precedence, Lumi explained urgently. A ritual combat to determine which species has prior claim to this system. Wait, Mason interjected. Don't we get a say in this? It's our planet. Before Lumi could translate this remarkably human perspective, war leader Kresh made another declaration, this one directed at both his Tresarian rivals and the humans. He's proposing something unusual, Lumi translated, surprise evident in her voice. A three-way challenge. The Kilvari, the Tresarians, and humans, each to demonstrate their tactical superiority. Mason blinked. A three-way alien warfare contest? On my base? It's unprecedented, Lumi admitted. But it actually acknowledges humans as potential equals. That's not typical Kilvari behavior. Zorn responded with what appeared to be reluctant acceptance. The terms were quickly established through the translators. Each side will have 1 hour to prepare, Lumi explained to Mason. Then a demonstration of tactical capabilities within defined parameters. No lethal force, but everything short of it is permitted. The winner claims assessment rights to Earth. And who judges this contest? Mason asked reasonably. Lumi translated the question, leading to a brief conference among the aliens. Finally, war leader Kresh responded. The contest judges itself, Lumi translated. Victory is objective, not subjective. Mason absorbed this, then did something that astonished Lumi. He laughed. So we are having an intergalactic war game on my parade ground to determine which alien civilization gets to decide our fate? That's actually kind of perfect. Perfect? Lumi echoed in confusion. Absolutely. Mason's eyes gleamed with unexpected confidence. Tell them we accept the challenge. As Lumi translated, she noticed something remarkable. Both Zorn and war leader Kresh seemed taken aback by the humans' ready acceptance. They had expected reluctance, fear, perhaps even submission. Instead, they got enthusiastic participation. The first demonstration of human unpredictability had already begun. The next hour passed in a flurry of preparation. The Kilvari and Tresarian teams returned to their respective ships to prepare, while Mason mobilized his available forces with remarkable efficiency. The aliens think this is a contest to see who gets to assess us for potential conquest, Mason explained to his officers. I see it differently. This is our chance to assess them, and to send a very clear message about human capabilities. Our technology is inferior to both species, a lieutenant pointed out. Technology isn't everything, Mason replied. We have something they don't. What's that, sir? Mason smiled grimly. Creative chaos. His plan, as it emerged, struck Lumi as both brilliant and quintessentially human. Rather than attempting to match the aliens' superior technology directly, the humans would leverage their unique advantages, intimate knowledge of terrain, unpredictable tactics, and most importantly, their comfort with chaos. When the hour ended, the three teams assembled at designated points around the base. The Kilvari had deployed what appeared to be combat drones and biological constructs, vaguely insectoid creatures under direct control. The Tricerians had established a perfect defensive perimeter with automated systems and tactical analysts coordinating responses. The humans, meanwhile, seemed to be doing nothing cohesive at all. Small teams moved apparently randomly throughout the area. Equipment was deployed without obvious pattern. Communications seemed minimal. Your strategy is unclear, Lumi observed to Mason as they watched from the command center. That's the point, he replied. Formal structure is predictable. Predictability is vulnerability. The contest began with a signal from war leader Kresh. Immediately, the Kilvari forces moved in aggressive formation, their combat drones and biological constructs advancing with perfect coordination. The Tricerian defenses activated in response, creating energy barriers and countermeasure fields. The humans did something entirely different. They scattered. What are they doing? Zorn demanded from his position, watching the humans apparently abandon cohesive defense. War leader Kresh clicked his mandibles in what passed for amusement, clearly anticipating easy victory over the primitive species. Then the human strategy became clear. Small teams struck from unexpected directions, using simple but effective tactics. They didn't engage either alien force directly but instead created conditions that brought the Kilvari and Tricerians into conflict with each other. Remarkable, Lumi breathed. They are using their opponent's strengths against each other. A human team would trigger a Kilvari advance, then withdraw through a Tricerian defense perimeter. The Kilvari, pursuing, would clash with the Tricerians. Meanwhile, other human teams captured undefended objectives or disrupted alien communications. They are not fighting either of us directly, Mira realized with growing alarm. They are making us fight each other. Both alien forces, designed for direct confrontation according to established military doctrine, struggled to adapt to the humans' seemingly chaotic approach. The Kilvari responded with increasing aggression, committing more forces to direct engagement. The Tricerians reinforced their defensive positions, becoming more rigid and less mobile. And the humans simply continued to create chaos, exploiting every opportunity that emerged. This isn't just random, Lumi observed to Mason. There's pattern in your chaos. Adaptive opportunism, Mason confirmed. So rigid plan survives contact with the enemy, so we don't rely on rigid plans. We create conditions that generate opportunities, then exploit them as they emerge. The contest continued for another hour, with the humans steadily accumulating objective points despite their technological disadvantage. They never won direct engagements but excelled at achieving strategic goals while their opponents wasted resources fighting each other. Finally, war leader Kresh signaled an end to the demonstration. The three commanders met on the parade ground once more. The contest results are clear, the Kilvari leader announced through his translator. The humans have demonstrated superior tactical adaptation. Zorn, despite his evident frustration, nodded in agreement. Their approach was unexpected. Mason maintained a carefully neutral expression. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this exchange. May I ask what conclusions you have drawn? War leader Kresh's exoskeleton shifted through a range of colors before settling on a deep blue. The Kilvari have misjudged humanity. You are not simply primitive beings awaiting conquest. Your species' comfort with chaos represents a unique strategic advantage. Zorn added reluctantly, The Tricerian simulations predicted this outcome, but seeing it demonstrated directly is illuminating. So what happens now? Mason asked directly. The two alien leaders exchanged glances, then War Leader Kresh spoke. By right of superior demonstration, humans have earned assessment privileges for their own world. Neither the Kilvari nor the Tricerians will pursue conquest at this time. How generous of you, Mason replied, a hint of sarcasm evident even through the translator. Do not misunderstand, War Leader Kresh continued. This is not permanent exemption. It is recognition that conquest of Earth would require resources disproportionate to potential gains. Your chaos makes you inefficient to assimilate. Inefficient to assimilate, Mason repeated. I think that's the nicest compliment we have ever received. As the aliens prepared to depart, Lumi approached Mason one last time. You understand what happened here, don't you? She asked. Done. We convinced two advanced alien civilizations that we are more trouble than we are worth, Mason replied with a slight smile. Precisely. Your chaotic nature, which both the Tricerians and Kilvari initially perceived as weakness, proved to be your greatest strength. You are unpredictable, adaptable, and comfortable with conditions that other species find intolerable. So being messy saved our planet? In a manner of speaking, yes. Organized civilizations like the Tricerians and Kilvari operate on principles of order and predictability. They expand by incorporating new worlds into their existing structures. Your world resists such incorporation by its very nature. Mason considered this. So Earth is safe because we are too chaotic to be worth the hassle of conquering? For now, at least. Though I suspect both the Tricerians and Kilvari will continue observing your development with interest. And you? Will you be continuing your observations? Lumi glanced toward where Zorn was waiting impatiently by the transport beam. My mission has technically been compromised. I will be reassigned. That's a shame, Mason said. I think you were just starting to appreciate our creative chaos. Perhaps I was, Lumi admitted. There's something liberating about the human approach to uncertainty. That's because we don't just tolerate chaos, we embrace it, Mason explained. It's where our best ideas come from, our greatest achievements, even our survival as a species. As Lumi prepared to depart, Mason offered a final observation. You know, your people got one thing right in their simulations. Earth is too chaotic to win a conventional war against. But they misunderstood why that matters. It's not despite our chaos that we are strong, it's because of it. Lumi considered this as she rejoined her team. As the transport beam engaged, she found herself reflecting on the profound lesson of this mission. The Tricerians had always equated order with strength, predictability with power. Yet these humans, with their contradictions and adaptability, their comfort with chaos and change, had demonstrated something entirely different. Perhaps chaos wasn't something to be eliminated but harnessed, not a weakness, but a strength unlike any the ordered civilizations of the galaxy had encountered before. As the precise calculation departed Earth orbit, Zorn completed his mission report for the Expansion Council. His recommendation was clear: Earth would remain undisturbed for the foreseeable future. Not because humans weren't worth conquering, but because their unique relationship with chaos made them too unpredictable to control effectively. The Expansion Council would seek more orderly worlds to incorporate into their perfect, structured civilization. Earth would continue in its beautiful, productive chaos, developing, arguing, creating, and evolving in ways no Tricerian or Kilvari could predict. And that, Lumi thought as she gazed at the receding blue planet, was exactly the point.